January 2015, Star Wars comics come home to Marvel. Marvel actually published the very first Star Wars comic way back in 1977 when the first movie came out. The first few comics were an adaptation of the first film in the trilogy, Episode 4, A New Hope. And then the comics functioned as the continued adventures of the core characters. That was until Empire Strikes Back came out. They adapted that film, incorporated it into the story the comics were telling, and did the same for Return of the Jedi. All in all, Marvel published Star Wars for 9 years before it was canceled in 1986. After that, there was basically nothing for 5 years, until Dark Horse picked up the license in 1991. Dark Horse was an up-and-coming, independent comic book company that had made a name for itself publishing creator-owned and licensed comics based on film franchises like Aliens, Predator, and Terminator. In the time Dark Horse was publishing Star Wars comics, there was an incredible amount of other media like novels and video games telling Star Wars stories as well, all the while being moderated by editors from Lucasfilm to keep everything within continuity. Comics published by Dark Horse comprised a good deal of what was known as the Star Wars Extended Universe. Meanwhile, after Disney conquered the family and female markets, they started looking at world domination, and that meant going after the elusive 14 to 34 male demographic. We saw the results of this in the 2000s with movies like Pirates of the Caribbean, which made a lot of money but put more Johnny Depp posters in girls' rooms than boys, Tron Legacy, which just didn't take with video game fans the way Disney had hoped, and John Carter, which fell down on its face in just about every direction. After enough failed attempts at going after the male market with their own cultivated brands, Disney just said f*** it and bought 2 companies that had a strong foothold in that demographic. They bought Marvel Entertainment in 2009 and Lucasfilm in 2012. Now that Disney owned one of the 2 biggest comic book publishers and the licensing rights to all Star Wars material, it was inevitable that Disney would make the decision to move their Star Wars comic publishing operation from Dark Horse to Marvel. They also made the decision to abandon all extended universe continuity up until this point. So that means goodbye, Star Wars Extended Universe of the last 20-something years. And hello, new comics and movies. What all these major acquisitions have enabled is an opportunity for Star Wars to start fresh. Going forward, the only Star Wars canon are the films, and in that spirit, the first Marvel comics take place right after the first movie. Marvel is starting with 3 titles: a Star Wars ongoing, written by Jason Aaron with art by John Cassaday, a Darth Vader ongoing, written by Kieran Gillen with art by Salvador Larroca, and a Princess Leia miniseries, written by Mark Waid with art by Terry Dodson. The relaunch of Star Wars comics at Marvel is a great opportunity for fans to get in on the ground floor of a comic book dynasty that could go on for years. Seriously, if you've ever been a Star Wars fan, this is not something you want to miss. You want to be able to be there from the beginning and watch it grow. You aren't staring down years of prior continuity. It doesn't matter if you've never read a Star Wars comic before, or read a novel, or played a Star Wars video game. If you've never been sure you would like comics, but you've always been sure about your love for Star Wars, this relaunch is just a couple of bucks separating you from discovering what could be a lifelong love affair.